My dear son, thank you for agreeing to talk with me. A conversation with a son is always a very important event for a father. The reason for this conversation is a dream I had a few nights ago. In the dream, you and I were standing on an empty street in a Jewish ghetto during the Nazi era, up to our knees in ash, which covered the roads, sidewalks, trees, and rooftops in a thick layer. It seemed as if the ash was alive. There was more and more of it because it kept falling endlessly in large flakes like snow in winter. We couldn't move, scream, or run. We couldn't move, as if we were stuck in a swamp. And the ash kept falling, forming mountains. You asked me in surprise, "Dad, why is it empty here? Where are the people? Why is there only ash everywhere?" I wanted to answer you but couldn't because my soul was mourning this ash, and I couldn't utter a word from grief. Like in a nightmare, when you want to call for help but can't because you're asleep. But when I woke up, I realized that there was a reason for seeing this dream. It was a reminder that I need to tell you something very important, something only I can tell you. Now I want to answer your questions, son. You asked, why is it empty here? It's not emptiness around us, son. There are millions of Jews who were exterminated, burned, shot, slashed with sabers, hanged, drowned, suffocated. This ash is the price for the survival of those who lived, the price for your mother and father to be born, the price for our right to have children, you and your brother, the price for your right to have your own children and continue our lineage.
Dad, why were they killing us? Why us specifically? I have always been proud of our people because our people have given the world so many remarkable individuals in art, literature, and science, including Nobel laureates in economics, physics, literature, medicine. The world would be entirely different without people like Albert Einstein, Karl Heinrich Marx, Sigmund Freud.
Yes, son. The list of remarkable individuals from our people is incredibly long, and without us, humanity would still be struggling with tuberculosis and many other diseases, wouldn't know television and computers, and in all other fields, our civilization wouldn't be as advanced. The contribution of our people to the modern world is immeasurable, just like the number of victims of anti-Semitism. In universities and schools, they mention the names of people who have given humanity their discoveries, making our lives more interesting, safer, and advanced in many areas. However, few mention the affiliation of these great people to our people. And it is very important to know this so that we are respected and the significance of our people for the development of all humanity is understood.
Dad, but why were we burned and killed?
Because they were trying, and still are, to burn out our memory of ourselves. They don't understand that the ashes of the burned are our memory. Our memory of ourselves is the core we hold on to in any storm, in any catastrophe. And the voice of the ashes sounds briefly and simply, as a guide for all living.
לחיים.
It means, to life. Strive for it. That's why we always, in any situation, wish for everyone and ourselves to strive for life, to survive. This is our victory. Our enemies can be easily recognized even now. They are the ones who want to destroy us by erasing the memory of our ancestors and our teachings. Our history is a chronicle of our constant sacrifices made to preserve our memory of who we are. And to prevent this from being destroyed within us, we must constantly learn. So that everyone can read the Torah, which is the chronicle of our people. Our strength lies in literacy and memory. Our enemies understand this well, which is why they try to detach us from the chronicle and erase the memory of our sacrifices. If they succeed, it will signify the beginning of our end, and then the end of all life on earth. Memory is what keeps our conscience clean and protects us from self-destruction. There, in the dream, son, we stood silently because our throats were dry from grief. We looked at the mountains of ashes in the dead silence, which, like a bell, will always ring in my consciousness and quicken the beating of our hearts. It seemed that the ash was alive, and it was growing more and more because the sacrifices of our people did not end. They have been for centuries, continue now, and will always be. All dreams end, but not all are forgotten. And I know that this dream will never let me go. And I want you, son, to always remember who and what they did to our people and will try to do again. It was done by people just like you and me. Hard to believe, isn't it? Surprisingly, they were not savages. Savages are not capable of organizing mass shootings and killing with carbon monoxide and mobile and stationary gas vans. Only civilized people can do that. People created over 42,000 Jewish ghettos, concentration camps, and death camps for the final solution of our Jewish question. Or, to put it simply, they created an industry for the extermination of Jews.
Dad, but why us specifically? What did we do to displease them so much?
It's because our religion requires us to be educated. It's in our blood. Our people have produced so many remarkable individuals not because we are special, but because we teach our children the importance of education. Those who rule the world do not benefit from anyone being smarter than them, as intelligent people threaten their wealth and influence in the world. In other words, education is their most feared enemy. Therefore, they do everything possible to destroy us, manipulating masses of people, turning them against us, using the media. They managed to kill, according to official figures, 6 million of my people, and thus yours, with the consent and in the sight of everyone else, because they have the same goals, money and power, all the money in the world and universal power. The Nuremberg trials in Germany, after the end of World War II, accused and condemned Nazi leaders as war criminals and determined that 6 million Jews were killed during the war. But the truth is that 6 million dead Jews is a significantly understated figure. In reality, at least twice as many Jews died during World War II, which is kept silent. Jews were killed not only in Germany but throughout Europe, in the sight and with the consent of others. Jews were killed not only in Germany but throughout Europe, in France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy, Poland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Ukraine, Belarus, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and other countries. There were no concentration camps in America, but America also contributed to the destruction of Jews. When a ship with Jewish refugees from Nazi Germany arrived at the shores of America, the American government did not allow them to disembark and sent them back to Nazi Germany, where they were all killed. These are representatives of the greatest civilizations. According to the stories of our grandparents, who miraculously survived, local residents caught Jews in towns, villages, and forests. They often killed Jews themselves, raped them, or reported them to appropriate authorities to seize the property that belonged to the Jews, taking pleasure in unpunished violence, murder, and betrayal.
Dad, I understand everything. But the world is completely different now. I go to school and do not feel different from other children. No one offends me. I have many different friends. And none of us feel offended or alien.
No, son. The world has remained the same as it has been for centuries. It's just that you and I have temporarily found ourselves in a good place at a fortunate time in history. We've moved away from anti-Semitism, but that doesn't mean it has ceased to exist. On the contrary, anti-Semitism is growing and strengthening on our planet. It has always been this way, it is this way now, and it will continue to be so. That's precisely why I had the dream where there were mountains of ashes and the ash continued to fall incessantly. You must always remember that all Jews who lived in Spain, Sardinia, and Sicily for 1,500 years were expelled in 1492 by decree of the ruling royal couple, Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I of Castile. They were given 3 months, which was considered humane, to either leave Spain or convert to Christianity, meaning they had to renounce their faith, traditions, memory, and ancestors. 150,000 Jews left the country, abandoning the graves of their ancestors and their established lives built over centuries. 3 months later, all those who remained and did not convert were declared outlaws and burned at the stake. For years later, King Manuel I of Portugal did the same with his Jews. They were forced to flee to other countries, to Northern Europe, Italy, the Ottoman Empire, and the countries of North Africa. But even there, 450 years later, many millions of our people were destroyed both during the Holocaust and during the Stalinist regime in the former Soviet Union. Then there was a lull. However, the calm was in Western Europe and America, while Jews in the former Soviet Union were seriously discriminated against. That's why we left there. And I thought I had finally found a place for my family where we would be safe. But how wrong I was.
Why, Dad? I still don't understand. I don't see any reason to worry.
Unfortunately, in Brooklyn, where a large number of Jews live, synagogues are quite often subjected to vandalism. But these are just minor stings. Like everyone else on the planet, we have our homeland Israel, where our distant ancestors lived many centuries ago. They were expelled from Israel and wandered the world for a long time, but several decades ago managed to return to their promised land with the intention of living peacefully and happily. However, unfortunately, they do not let us live peacefully. Our country is surrounded by enemies, and they constantly attack us. Israel has learned to defend itself, but the people constantly live in tension, knowing that enemy rockets could fall on them at any moment. In Israel, there is a law that requires every building to have a bomb shelter in case of enemy attack. Can you imagine a life where you always have to be on guard and in case of danger run and hide in a bomb shelter, saving your life? Jews are already used to living like this. And of course, every time enemies attack our people, Israel responds, making it clear that we will not be taken so easily. And a few weeks ago, Arab organized terrorists attacked the civilian population of Israel and committed incredible massacres and atrocities, killing innocent people, cutting off the heads of babies in front of their mothers, burning people alive, pre-raping and inflicting unimaginable abuse on their victims. Hundreds of innocent people died there and many hostages were taken. This terrorist act was so brutal and cruel that even military veterans who had witnessed the horrors of war couldn't help but shed tears at what had been done. One would think that the international community, or at least the American public, should have condemned the terrorists' actions. However, the opposite happened completely. Israel grew weary of constant terrorist raids and decided to put an end to these atrocities. They sent their troops into Palestinian territory to cleanse it of terrorists who were disrupting Israel's peace. America, a country that I once loved and was proud of, became filled with angry demonstrations, primarily from youth and students of prestigious American universities, protesting against Israel for daring to enter Palestinian territory and allegedly killing innocent civilians, which was entirely untrue. These protest demonstrations against Israel were broadcast on all television channels, and few condemned these demonstrations. So, son, anti-Semitic ideology, which I thought didn't exist in America before, has made its way into our wonderful country and thrives. My dream wasn't in vain. It was a reminder to me that I have no right to stay silent. The ashes of memory beat and will beat in my heart. And I deeply wish that it always beats in the hearts of our entire people, and that we never become deaf to this beating and never brush away the ashes of memory about ourselves. When we live in prosperity, we forget that this prosperity can end at any moment. Because at all times and among all peoples, state anti-Semitism is possible, the mass destruction of people by order is possible, and moreover, the destruction of people can become routine for others. Know this, son, it is very important to know the history of your people. Knowledge will help prevent catastrophes and disasters for future generations. I told you this not to upset you. Not at all. I want to look into the eyes of my children without fear for their future. I want the tears in my eyes never to be tears of sorrow, but only of joy and happiness. And for this reason, I want my children not to be deceived by illusions that everything will be fine on its own, and therefore I want my children and your children not to allow themselves to erase the memory and blow away the ashes of memory of the victims from their hearts. I want my children and grandchildren to know and remember the horrors of our people's past. I want my children and grandchildren, if they are destined to see them only in dreams.